I'm Scott Adam Miller, and on today's Sam IT, we're going to be talking about why you need to stop using secure mail. All right, so for years, we've been dealing with this infiltration of secure mail products. People say email's not secure, you got to have something more secure. It's especially true in HIPAA requirement environments. Email doesn't meet the HIPAA requirements, and therefore you have to do something else, but you still need to be able to send mail, so we have secure mail. There's a number of problems here. The first problem, and this is pretty big when it comes to a security system, is that this is a lie. Everything about this is a lie. Email does meet HIPAA requirements. Email is secure, or can be if you choose to make it secure, and secure mail is not email. So everything that we're basing the need for this product on is false, and lying is a really bad way to start any security discussion. Now, if push comes to shove, people will generally admit this isn't actually email, but an awful lot of people won't. It is argued constantly that secure mails are email. So let's talk about what they are for a second so that we're on the same page. So first of all, what is email? Email is text messages sent over the SMTP protocol. That is the Simple Mail Transport Protocol. Email is defined as the messages sent over this network. It is not some generic term to anything you want that is electronic and has a message in it. If that was true, so many things would be email, including most faxes, text messaging, all kinds of things. The term email is a specific technology, and it is a very old one, and no one can reasonably claim to not know what it is. Even people who have no reasonable knowledge of email are still somewhat aware of when they're using it and when they're not. Of course, only someone who's very technical is going to be able to whip out, well, it's SMTP and it's only email at this time. And I will do other videos that really delve into when it is and isn't email, because there's some interesting semantics that come into play in other arenas, but not important here. What secure mail products do is they stop using email completely as a mechanism. What they do instead is they simply have a website where they maintain messages and they have users log in to retrieve or send those messages. In some cases, they will allow you to send a message from email to that system, and then they don't display it to other people until they log in. But one way or another, it is almost universally, I've never seen any system that is not using a website to basically be a bulletin board system instead of email. They're modern, they're much slicker looking than your 1989 BBS, but they are a BBS. That is all they're doing. They're basically having email messages without the SMTP protocol, so they are not email. And this comes up with a couple important things. First of all, the concept that email is insecure is garbage. Email, of course, is just text messages over SMTP. Is that secure? No, not in any way whatsoever. But email's been around for a long time and it has evolved. Most systems considered business class must, in order to be in any way considered a viable business class email system, must at least offer, if not require, either is okay, that messages be encrypted. And those messages being encrypted generally use the SSL TLS infrastructure, which is extremely secure and is generally the exact same infrastructure that's being used by these supposed secure email systems. So we're not using different encryption technologies and doing something in a completely different way. In both cases, we are receiving the messages over the same protocols or nearly the same protocols. If you're in a situation where you truly believe you must have end-to-end encryption, you can enforce that or enforce that per message, depending, through your email system. And if you don't absolutely have to have it end-to-end, if the recipient is allowed to voluntarily not use TLS, but is allowed to offer to take plain text, then that is fine too. And there is a very strong argument that could be made that with HIPAA and many other systems, if the recipient does not require TLS, that they refuse it. Because remember, your system will always offer it if you have a secure system. So if they refuse it but still accept the email, they have made a determination, and it is on them that they have made their own information insecure at their option, just as it is with every other technology. It's also important if we want to get into HIPAA discussions, we can get into lots of ridiculous things like it's okay to use fax, which is not even as secure as insecure email without the TLS. So if that's okay, clearly anything is okay. Nothing cannot meet the incredibly low bar of faxing short of putting things on an actual physical bulletin board in the middle of a hallway or in a public space, right? There is nothing that doesn't meet the minimum bar for HIPAA. Absolutely nothing. No communications technology available in the last century isn't good enough for what they normally accept for HIPAA. All of the things we're discussing are orders of magnitude more secure than that. Now, why do they allow something so bad? It would be professional negligence in any other field. Those are things we'll talk about in some other video. But in all those cases, whether it's fax, whether it's printed on paper, whether it's a secure email, once that is received by the customer, they can do anything they want with it. They are not under HIPAA. They can do anything they want. So if you hand them the option of a secure transmission and they say, no, I want the transmission, but I don't want it secured, which is what some of their email systems do at the customer's discretion, then that should be on them. That is a question on legality of at what point you can automate the handoff to the customer. But you should be able to very confidently never have it be on you. You have encrypted at every moment that you had the discretion to and only offered it unencrypted as a backup option when a customer demanded it to be so. Now, in a hospital setting, if you're going to hand someone, you would cover it up. And if they open it up the instant you hand it to them, yes, it's very clearly they had control of it. It is slightly different with email that, yes, you still have control of it until the moment you hand it to them. And at the moment that they say, no, you're giving it to me unencrypted, it slightly changes. It's like you open it and hand it to me. You can make a ridiculous argument. I don't believe it would hold up in any court ever. No one could ever accuse you of violating HIPAA when the customer requested the connection, demanded it be insecure, and then turned around and was unhappy about their own decision. But email, as long as you are enforcing the encryption, you are guaranteed to have that end-to-end encryption, just like you do with the secure email. You're not gaining anything with the secure email. The difference is one uses the email protocols and one does not. So one's just the bulletin board system. That makes one convenient. When we say, please send me an email, we expect the information to come into our system and we have a place to store it and manage it. When you do secure email systems, you're refusing to do that. You're doing something different. That can be a problem. Now, we're talking about security here, but we've already established security is equal, possibly better because one system is honest and one is generally dishonest. Dishonest will never be as secure as honest. This is the fundamentals of security, right? Once you're lying to your customers, once you're lying to your team, people aren't sure what's happening, and that makes it very hard to remain secure. Now, when we get into other things, right, there are other factors to using secure email systems. When you are a CEO and you request from your team, please send me an email with the details for something, and instead they send you a login to a third-party website, and that website you have to jump through a bunch of hoops and go look at a web page with that information, that is not meeting the requirement of sending you an email. If you said email, under no other circumstance would doing that other thing qualify. That is farther from sending you an email than, say, just sending you an instant message or a text message. It is going so far out of your way to not meet the stated requirement. Now, many people will just accept it because they assume you're not smart enough to know that isn't email. And in many cases, the recipient's not knowledgeable enough to know that it isn't email. But for the most part, we're all aware it's not email, it's not convenient, it's not extra secure, and quite frankly, it's disrespectful and rude to send it to users because it is telling them you're not concerned about their security. That's not a factor. And you're not concerned about their time. You don't care how much effort they have to put into reading a message from you. You are going to waste their time and for no purpose and waste your own. So it's announcing to anyone that you're communicating with that you, or more likely your organization, does not respect your time. They don't see their own functionality as being valuable. And more importantly, they don't see their customers or vendors or partners or whoever they're interacting with as being valuable. Or they think that the people that they interact with are idiots and can't have a business class email system can't handle getting a personal Gmail account, can't handle using Office 365 for email, can't get Zoho, whatever, because these things are free. Nobody has an excuse for why they would have a non-secure email system today unless they just wanted it. If it's something you want to have, that's fine. That is your decision. But if it needs to be secure, no one can say, well, I don't have the resources to have that, because many vendors provide that for free and have for a very long time. We are way past the point that anyone has an excuse for not having it who wants it or needs it. So using those secure email systems represents a real statement about the organization you work for and the organizations that they do business with. And that's not a statement that I think most companies want to make, but it's one that you are making, right? And this came up specifically today. I've ranted about this a lot in the past, and I'm very big on we need to be honest in general. Lying about our technology, trying to trick people into doing what we want is never a good way to do it. Convincing them that it's worthwhile, cajoling, training, there's a lot of incentivizing, but tricking is a really bad mechanism for security. But this came up today because we made a really simple request as a business to another business. There's an issue. If you need anything fixed, just send us an email. Here's the email address to send it to. We have automated systems that read those emails, assign it to the right people, get the right things done. They sent instead a secure email. So the system had no idea that something was going on. It never picked up the system. It had no APIs. It did not have the SMTP API to work with. And so the system was down for half a day because no one was aware, because no email had been sent as requested. But of course, the customer who sent it, in their mind, sent an email because their business had lied to them repeatedly, as did all their vendors, that this was secure email rather than a random, relatively secure third-party non-email messaging platform BBS thing, right? And BBS is a really good term here. It is exactly a BBS messaging system. That is the actual term for what this is. Yes, these are more secure than traditional BBSs, so let's call it a secure BBS. That would be more honest. And if that's what your company is okay with, we use a BBS. Is that okay? And then your customers and your vendors and your partners can say, are you kidding? Is this 1989? It is not. Use email. What is wrong with you? But when we lie and say it's email, we make it that we have to then say, I'm sorry, are you confused as to what email is? Are you an idiot? Are you just rude? Are you just you hate me as a partner? What is it that makes you willing to say this is email when obviously it is not? Even non-technical people know it's not. And why would you do that? So it breaks things. It doesn't meet stated requirements. If you have a legal requirement to have secure email, it does not qualify ever, because there is no email involved, no matter what it is called. Just naming something that isn't email does not make it legally meet email requirements. And it makes things really inefficient. So it's a dumb process. In all these years of working with it, I have never yet run across a scenario where it solved an issue. In all the issues all the times where it was used to some effect, it was always because it was a secondary email system in a company where they needed one email system that behaved one way and another one that behaved another. And yes, there is a value in a really extreme, strange, and generally not recommended way where having two unique email or messaging platforms is sensible. However, in none of those cases was it more sensible or better or in any way improved or in any way not bad because one of those was this secure email system. In every situation, having two normal email systems would have been as or more secure and easier to use and able to interface better with customers. Now, one additional step. Because this is a secure BBS and because the system is designed generally to send notifications via actual email, we have this weird need to have both email and non-email functional at the same time. This causes lots of potential problems that you have to have customers who have email access, but that are also allowed web access, and that web access has to come through an email, and it has to be allowed to a site that you have not anticipated. For the most part, this works. Most companies are not locking things down to that point, but some are, and that can cause problems. Right? I got an email that has a link to something I don't trust. Well, that's a problem because secure email depends on you trusting something you don't know about. Of course, you could inform someone ahead of time, who are constantly warning people about the dangers of phishing emails, and secure emails look extremely like phishing emails. So getting people to use them actually trains them to do things that are insecure. It's really dangerous. I don't know any case where you could, from a security standpoint, ever allow them to be used, because they are wasting resources and making people act insecurely. And they make people believe they're more secure than they actually are. It is a farce, and that is really bad for security. And now the last piece, because this is often used in this weird multi-use method. Email is able to handle, real email, actual honest to goodness secure email is able to do a lot of things internally with multiple users. So a single email, for example, you have info@yourcompany.com. Someone sends an email to that. That could be a mailbox and one person has it, or a group of people may share it. That's an option. And all of that happens on your side after it is received. It is at the option of the recipient. Now, you don't have to have those people share a mailbox. That could become an alias or a distribution group, depending on your system, and it could go to multiple users. Each of those users could maintain their own identity. By having actual email, we enable our customers, or whoever we're communicating with, the recipient of the email, to maintain proper security where each user has their own ID. Of course, they can disable that if they so choose, if they don't feel that that level of security is mandated for them, although it is generally best practice to always have that. But there are cases where you could argue that you don't need it or should not have it because it creates a difficult workflow. That aside. When you use secure email in the same way, secure email, the fake product, you enforce that you must have shared accounts and give up the idea of identifiable users on the recipient end. You do not give them the option to use aliases, distribution groups, security mechanisms that are appropriate, because you are sending data blind. This is what happened also in a situation today. We were forced to create shared account systems on a HIPAA compliant system, violating HIPAA in order to meet the requirements. So the fact that they required the secure email, and it was actually a secure BBS, and they required it because it was HIPAA, actually caused a HIPAA violation, which I believe doesn't just suggest a security problem, which it is. It's one of two major security problems with the system other than the lying, but it also violates HIPAA, to the best of my knowledge, by essentially requiring that the requirement of user login identification be bypassed. It is not bypassed because someone is doing something they're not supposed to. It is bypassed because it is by design required by the system. That's how insecure it is. It actually violates HIPAA, which is a pretty hard thing to violate because the bar is so low. So that is my take on why you need to stop using secure email. Everyone should stop using it. Nobody should ever be able to make an argument for why it's good to use, because they can't make an argument for why it's even acceptable to use. But more importantly, we need to, as IT, never allow people to speak about it as being secure or as being email. Those two things are marketing tricks meant to get non-technical people to believe that it meets the email requirement and that it meets the security requirement without getting them to actually think about what it is they're actually doing and whether or not it's actually secure. They are marketing tricks targeted at CEOs and department managers and other decision makers outside of IT. In IT, we obviously know that it's not very secure and it's definitely not email. Those are things we are completely sure about. And when used properly, it could be decently secure, but it's never used properly. The fact that it's proposed, its entire purpose of existing, is to trick customers into purchasing something based on a fallacy of something else being insecure, based on the assumption that someone would misconfigure the email. But if you assume they can misconfigure the email, you must assume that they would also misconfigure the secure bulletin board system. So if you're going to make that assumption, it has to be universal. You can't cherry pick the best of one and the worst of the other. When both are used correctly, they're equally secure. When both are used incorrectly, they're equally insecure. But one is much more likely to be secure, one is much better approach, all those things. As IT, it is important always that we do not allow false information to be repeated and do not make it seem like we are accepting false information. If your business requires that you use secure email, or your lawyer or your insurance company simply doesn't understand technology or security and they demand less secure things, it doesn't matter what security is. For most companies, you're plenty secure anyway. The thing that actually matters is making your vendors happy. And if that's what you have to do, then fine, that's a mandate. But you should never allow your organization to repeat false information and train itself to be insecure. You should instead work to say, this is an email. It's not particularly more secure. It's just secure enough. And that's fine. And I'm happy to implement it. Let's not pretend it's email. Let's not pretend it's extra secure. Those are ways we're going to shoot ourselves in the foot. And then when someone says, send me an email, it must be an email, and you send that and they get angry or something goes wrong or you don't get a thing you need, you are aware that you have done that and not finding out later that, oh, you didn't even know what email was. That's not something you want to admit to anyone when something has gone wrong. Oh my gosh, it's 2022 and I didn't know what email was and I work in IT. That's not good. By all those things. And this is a common thing that I'm going to talk about in other videos as well. But it's really, really common that we have a CEO or a board or some managers who say things that are incorrect. They make crazy statements about what cloud is. They make up business terms. They make up all kinds of things and get it wrong. And they say things like secure email is a form of email. And they say these things repeating these really predatorial marketing tactics. They repeat them because they learned about these things through predatorial marketing tactics. But we're IT. It is our job to educate them. Look, if this is what you want to use, great. Just be aware. This is what it actually is. But even more importantly, I cannot believe how often IT professionals who certainly know these things, who then repeat the incorrect thing to other IT professionals as if we don't all know. The emperor is not wearing any clothes. And even though we've all agreed he's not wearing any clothes, let's stop talking about it as if he is. That's not helping anybody. Let's all just be open. The emperor's not wearing any clothes. He's walking around naked. That's funny. If he wants to walk around naked, if he wants to claim he has clothes on, that's his business. It is not our job to repeat the false information to help him feel better about everyone knowing the actual truth. That does not service anybody. Thanks for joining me. Please remember to like and subscribe. Comments below. Yes, I know it's frustrating. I know it's tough when we're looking at environments that we're forced to use and there are things that we hate and we don't have any choice about it. And we often feel, in especially discussions like this, that at the end of the day, we're being blamed for stupid mistakes in our environments. But we all know, everyone who works in IT is in the same boat. We're forced to do these things because we're not the final IT decision makers in 99% of cases. Somebody higher up in the organization, someone who's pulling the purse strings, comes down and says, you're going to do this thing no matter what IT says, no matter what security says, no matter what common sense says, no matter what the truth says, we're going to lie about it. We're going to do this thing and it's going to be impractical for everyone. It's going to be rude to our customers. It's going to be obnoxious and waste all kinds of resources. I don't care. I'm saying that's what we're doing. I don't care that I paid you to give me good advice and we're doing this in spite of that. That's how businesses work almost all the time. So don't feel badly because you're forced to do something that is inherently dumb. What I want you to do is stop acting like it's not dumb. Don't defend them by repeating the false information. Let's just be open and honest, and at least we will move up in our security, and we will give those people who have been tricked into believing these things are okay, the tools they need to, over time, also admit to themselves and each other that these are bad decisions, and these are not the things that they believe them to be, and move on from that. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time. Everyone, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video and for all of you who have been supporting this channel over the many years that we have been here. I'm working really hard to get this channel back on track and get videos coming out on a regular basis. And part of that is something we've never done before, and that is give you guys a way to support the channel. It would be amazing if you wanted to do that, whether it's something as simple as giving it a like, a subscribe, and sharing with your friends, telling your coworkers or your boss or your company about it. All of that would be fantastic. For those who want to do a little bit more, you can buy me a coffee. Down in the links below, I have a link where you can go and support me directly. Any coffees that you buy is money that comes directly to me, so that's a great way to support the channel directly. You can also buy my book. Not all of you are aware, but I recently wrote Linux Administration Best Practices, and that is available on Amazon. That link will be below as well. That would mean a lot to me if you guys went out and purchased that. That really does help quite a bit. And for those who are looking for more than this channel does as a YouTube channel, I am a consulting CIO, and those that are interested can go to ntg.co. And that is where I've been for the last 23 years as a researcher, as an engineer, as a consulting information technology and operations director for companies of all types and sizes all around the world. If Whether you need just a little bit of consulting, you need some advice on a project, or you're looking for someone to actually oversee all the operations of your company from a business infrastructure perspective, we offer all of that. Please reach out, sales@ntg.co. We would love to speak to you about what we can offer. Thanks so much for watching the show. I will see all of you next time.